Okay. Okay. I am live. Been a while. It's been a while. Been a while. I'm sorry it's been a while. So, I'm going to do an update. I'm going to do an update first. It's why this video is going to be an insane man responses video. That's what it was going to be. My first instinct was to immediately respond to the absolute insanity and stupidity of what I just watched, but I said, "You know what? It's going to be hard responding and fucking explaining things that are going on with me in real life while trying to do the video. I'll just do a normal podcast." But the other thing is, this fucking video ruined my goddamn plans, which was tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary of a video that's hit almost 1.6K, which is one of the biggest videos in recent days that my channel has gotten. And it's a 40K video. So I was going to do another video response to mark the 1 year anniversary by refuting more stupid bullshit. So let me update you folks. There's some folks who know this. There's hi Sten and Jen. They know what's been going on. Some people who may watch or have me on Facebook may have also seen. I got into a car accident Thursday, the 21st. So I got into a 5 car pileup. I have my right hand is not doing so well. I got a splint on it right now because there's a possibility that the snuff box bone is broken, but it's so small it can't be seen on an X-ray. And so in 2 weeks' time, so 2 Thursdays from now, I have to get another X-ray or a series of X-rays. They're going to check to see if the bone is dying because I guess from what the doctor was saying, it will show up in the X-ray if it's dying. And if it is dying, that means that I will be getting surgery on my hand. And yeah, so dealing with that, and that's the most egregious thing happening so far. Also, I've been consistently kidnapped by my friend Ricky to stay at his place for the majority of the month. And I keep forgetting to grab my laptop. Plus, usually by the time I wake up, he's home. I don't want to be doing a podcast screaming and hollering with a bunch of background noise. So fuck that. But yes, that's what's been going on with me. The car accident. That's it. Kudos. A. So if you hear the rattle of my pill bottle, that's just me taking some Advil. The doctors didn't give me anything. They're just like, yeah, it might be fractured. You don't know. Might be fucked up. Just take some Advil or Aleve or some ibuprofen for the swelling and the pain and stuff because I banged my knee, tore a chunk of my fucking left thumbnail off, bit the inside of my lip, fucking got bruises all over my legs. Typical minor injury. I'm not really going to mention that kind of shit, kind of stuff. Thankfully, I'm the only one that might. Thankfully I'm the only one that really took any kind of injury. Ricky and his girl Madison are fine. Maddie's 5-year-old daughter Paisley has a large bump on her head, but that's from the child seat she was in. Everybody had seatbelts on. Just letting you all know. So there's that. That's the update. So this motherfucking goddamn YouTuber that I am subscribed to, Shadiversity, has made another motherfucking video on motherfucking Dungeons and Dragons, and he just does not comprehend the motherfucking rules of this motherfucking game, and it's annoying me to the point that I started raging and yelling because it's so fucking stupid. The claims he makes in this fucking video hold no fucking merit in the terms of a few things. Number one, it's a fucking fantasy game. It's a tabletop pen and paper motherfucking game. You are trying to inject a medieval setting. Uh, I can't. I can't. Like so here's the thing. Shad wants a medieval a medieval kind of setting. Okay, good on you. Who doesn't like a medieval setting? When it comes to fantasy, where there's goblins and orcs and dragons and fucking owl bears and elves and dwarves and halflings. Who doesn't like that? It like the medieval period is like a nostalgia trip for people. It's a simpler time. There's fucking thatched roof cottages. There's castles everywhere. People talk in funny accents and they talk with all yes, owl bears are a creature in D&D. Look it up. But it's just this hodunky warm fuzzy feeling like Hobbiton. Nobody in goddamn like history can sit there and go Hobbiton's a shithole. I would never want to live in this idyllic little like farming community where it's cozy little houses underground and everybody's happy and they all enjoy eating and drinking and being merry. Like nobody could say no to Hobbiton, and that's basically what a fantasy setting is. It's like Hobbiton. It's an idyllic little land with outside of like the Shire is where all the great adventures happen. We get this. Nobody is poo pooing this. Here's where the problem comes in, and I'm shaking. I'm shaking right now, and I am sweating because I am just so fucking frustrated with what Shad says that I'm like just boiling inside. So let me do something to calm down. And it's gonna be tough because I got one hand. Yep. So here's where Shad kind of loses his fucking marbles. He's trying to inject real historical elements into a fantasy setting. Let me repeat that again. Shad is trying to inject real world mechanics to a fantasy setting. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay, for some reason, Jen, let me hang on. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Because for some reason, Jen, your stuff keeps getting bumped for review, and I don't know why. So hopefully that solves the issue. You have now been moderated. You are now blue with a wrench because everybody says it's blue. So here's why Shad's wrong. One, the fantasy setting has its own completely different culture, its own historical fucking events. And there are not one race that uses swords, axes, knives, all kinds of shit and armor. There's multiples. It's not humans. And here's where it gets even more confusing and more complicated. Look at history in the real world. Plate armor was used in a multitude of cultures across the globe. You have multiple types of armor. You have multiple types of chainmail. You have multiple types of gambeson and helmet design and shield design and weapon design, swords, knives, axes, all kinds of weapons. Every single fucking killing implement and defensive implement varies from culture to culture. Swords don't look the same in India as they do in fucking England. German swords don't look the same as Japanese or Chinese swords. Mongolian tactics and fighting techniques are vastly different to, say, Indian or Middle Eastern or North African. That's just one, that is one species, one race on this planet. Humans. Humans have a multitude of various styles of sword fighting and weapon fighting and different types of fucking treaties and appendices showing how to fight in different cultures, because different cultures have different mindsets on how to fight and use armor and make armor. This armor is better because of this. So you have a multitude. Christ, look at cultures throughout a couple hundred years. You have the migration period with the Viking eras where we had basically Viking broadswords. Very small very small hilt, very small pommel. It's an arming sword. You use it in one hand and you fight with a shield with it. Now jump to the 14th century, to the 15th century. Totally different sword styles, totally different fucking armor, totally different fucking combat techniques. That's just one species. And now you're trying to say, oh, well, every single fucking race, dwarves, elves, orcs, halflings, gnomes, and humans, should all go through the same fucking historical process. I'll let you in on something on something, Shad. Dwarves do not have the same bodily fucking like makeup as humans do. Neither do elves or halflings. Halflings are 3 foot tall, childlike folk. Dwarves dwarves are called dwarves because they're smaller than humans, and elves vary in range. And that's another thing. That's another totally different thing. You are playing a fucking pen and paper game. Dungeons and Dragons. What what campaign setting are you playing in? Is it a homebrew? Is it an established campaign setting? Are you playing in Faerun, or as the general populace would know, the Forgotten Realms? Or are you playing in Eberron? Are you playing in fucking Ravenloft? Are you playing in the fucking Greyhawk campaign setting? Fucking pick one. Because a lot of cultures and different reasonings behind certain things. Some campaign settings have their own special weapon loadouts. A lot of the books for Faerun, like there's, oh my god, there's just so many fucking books. If you want to play in the Forgotten Realms, not only are you going to need the because 0.5, not only are you going to need the Player's Handbook, Volume 1, the possibly Volume 1 and 2 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, first volume, possibly a couple more volumes of the Monster's Manual. You're also going to need the volumes for the Forgotten Realm, multiple books for that campaign setting, showing you things like kingdoms, cities, weapons, creatures only to Forgotten Realms, all kinds of shit. There are so many things that have variables. If you're playing in a and now if you're playing in a homebrew, shut the fuck up, Shad. You can do whatever the fuck you want in a goddamn homebrew. Just look at my campaign setting. I mean, granted, you can't look at it; it's still incomplete. But magic does not work the same way as normal D&D in my campaign setting. Neither does armor and weapons. Certain magical items like mithril completely overhauled. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can do whatever the fuck you want in a homebrew campaign. It's home brewed. You get to pick and choose what the fuck you want to do. You don't want monks in your campaign setting. You can just tell your players, I don't want anyone playing monks. Monks don't fucking exist in my campaign. You could say clerics don't fucking exist because there's no gods in your campaign setting. It's your campaign setting. It's a homebrewed campaign setting. You can do whatever the fuck you want. If you want to have it just set in fucking a Greco-Roman society that uses bronze weapons and armor, that's up to you. You can do that. If you want to, if you go, it's a Neolithic campaign. It's nothing but dwarves, elves, and hobbits as fucking cavemen. The biggest creatures you'll probably fight are woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. Nobody's going to complain unless they want to play something else, but it's your campaign setting. You can do whatever the fuck you want. So that's the first gripe I have with him. And that's just generalizing the whole of his video. Time to dig into some of the stupid shit he says in detail. So, the first thing, Shad bitches about leather armor. He has this fucking hate on for leather armor. He does not think that it ever existed. I'll back up. He says that there are some historical evidences for leather armor, but it's not in the same way as fantasy or movies portray it, where it's flimsy and wafer thin, and it's hyperbolic for me to say wafer thin, but it's like a normal material. He then goes on to say that leather, any kind of leather that thin, will not do jack shit to defend you. He then brings up, and this is a sheer stupidity. This is such an asinine fucking thing he says. Biker leather does not protect you. I'm sorry, what? Biker leather doesn't protect you? From anything? Motherfucker, the reason why bikers wear leather and most people who ride motorcycles wear fucking leather jackets and leather pants is because leather has been proven time and time again to be the most effective clothing to wear to protect you in case of a fucking accident. It's a known fact. Leather is the best protection from going from fucking 60 to 0, skipping down a fucking highway. And there have been multiple tests, multiple studies. They've found that normal clothing or nylon protecting clothing melts to the skin because of how hot it is when you're skipping crust asphalt. Leather, though, does a pretty goddamn good fucking job. That's why it's normal to see people wearing leather to protect them. So if a leather fucking jacket can save your goddamn skin, skipping across an asphalt highway going 60 miles per hour after you've fallen off your motorcycle, I think it could fucking help you when you're fighting in a fucking goddamn fight. Especially how thick biker armor is. Sorry, not biker armor. Biker jackets. Biker leather. And the other stupid fucking thing he points out is, leather armor in fantasy settings is piecemeal. There's all kinds of different materials all over it. Well, what about biker leather? Very protective leather clothing that's used by bikers. What do they have? Giant ribbed leather patches on their shoulders and elbows and knees and hips and sides. There's all these kinds of weird piecemeal attachments to the jacket. It's probably because those are probably the most defendable points for when you land. Where are you going to land when you're riding a motorcycle? Probably the sides of your body, your knees, elbows, and shoulders. Those are also really important fucking body points. I think people need their elbows. Nah, fuck it. Shed says it needs to be a universally hardened piece of leather. Fuck it. Fuck it. I can't. I just fucking can't. With that one fucking point, like, the stupidity of it. Biker leather won't save you from spit. That's literally what he says. I had to pause the video and just run my finger, like my fucking hand, through my goddamn hair, going, "What the fuck did I just hear? Does he not know?" Okay, Shed. Yes, people should wear plate mail while riding their motorcycles because it's far more protective than leather, hands down. Because fucking people are gonna drop a couple $1,000s for full plate mail while riding a fucking motorcycle. There's no fucking statistics and or studies proving the benefits of wearing leather jackets and shit at all. You know, and then he also points out the reason why leather probably wasn't as prominent as gambeson in the historical period is because leather had vast amounts of fucking uses, and armor wasn't really a priority. But then again, it's a fucking fantasy setting. It's a fucking fantasy setting. Anything goes. You can make it however the fuck you want. It's magical. It's a magical fucking setting. There's dragons flying around. Dragons fly around. Giant trolls that can regenerate, and the only way to kill them is by burning the corpses so they don't regenerate because they're weak against fire. There's fucking people with that are fucking 3 foot tall that live in little holes in the ground. There's pixies and nymphs and brownies and all kinds of fantastical fucking creatures. Nah, 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 nah. Gotta have that real world aesthetic. It's gotta be down in the muck. It's gotta be just like fucking historical Europe, right here, right now. Everything should be exactly like how the Middle Ages worked, even though I'm only basing that off of a human culture through a certain fucking time period. Everything else that happens in this myth, like this fantastical setting, need to have lived through the exact same things, through the exact same fucking criteria. Oh no! Whoa, 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 Sten! You're breaking down his argument when you bring up that. It's so fucking. He's so stupid. He's so stupid, Sten. Because then he goes into armor class. He goes into armor class and how armor class does not fucking make any sense and how it's stupid. And the biggest fucking thing is he doesn't understand armor class. And what makes it even dumber and more fucking teeth grinding is he's got the fucking player's handbook in his hands. So I have my same player's handbook. I have the same fucking edition that he had in his hands. So let me go to combat because he keeps going to the equipment page. He's not going through combat or adventuring or any of the fucking things that talk about the stats of the game. No, no. He's just going through the equipment and pissing and moaning about how the chainmail and how fucking padded armor has this armor class, which I'll get to in a second. But he doesn't go through any of the rest of the pages because it would completely destroy. No, he's using 3.5. He says that he's getting back into 3.5 and it's just pissing him off about armor class and armor and it's getting it wrong. It's a fantasy setting. It's fucking fantasy setting. He doesn't bitch about the fact that there's a double blade, there's a double axe-headed weapon. Well, since I got the book right here, the orc double axe doesn't bitch about that one. Doesn't bitch about the spiked chain or the great club. Doesn't bitch about any of those. No, no. Or the two-bladed sword, or the fact that the falchion is not a falchion. He's not bitching about the dire flail or the gnome hooked hammer. No, no, he's not going to bitch about those or the fact that scythes and sickles are in the game. Nah, we're not going to bitch about any of that. We're going to bitch about the armor. So, I'm going to read to you what it says here. Page 134 of Chapter 8, Combat. It goes through attack roll, attack bonus, the size modifiers, damage, then we get to armor class. Quote, your armor class, AC, represents how hard it is for opponents to land a solid, damaging blow on you. It's the attack roll result that an opponent needs to achieve to hit you. It then goes on to say, armor and shield bonuses. Your armor and shield each provide a bonus to your AC. This bonus represents their ability to protect you from blows. Dexterity modifier. If high, you are adept at dodging blows. Dexterity is low, you are inept at it. To land a solid damaging blow on you. That's weird. It almost sounds like armor is doing exactly what it should be doing. Protecting you from, and I'll quote again, solid damaging blows on you. Weird, Chad. It's amazing how he completely ignores this. Because his whole argument is that armor should be just complete. Basically, what his argument is that one, Gambison should be a +3 minimum. Like that should be the lowest armor AC bonus in the game. Gambison or padded armor should be a +3, not a +1. Even though when you look at the armor, and let me go to the page, when you look at the armor, padded armor is a full bodysuit, but as padded says, and if I can find it, padded armor features quilted layers of cloth and batting. It gets hot quickly and can become foul with sweat, grime, lice, and fleas. Now, what does the armor stats give it? Gives you a +1 in armor bonus, gives you a +8 maximum dexterity bonus, which means if you have a +8 in dexterity, you get that plus the armor, which means that your armor bonus should be a +19 because you start off at a base of 10 and then you add +9. Full plate gives you +8 AC +1 dex bonus, meaning that if you have a 8 in dexterity, you only get +1 of that. So you're still getting the same amount of armor or armor class from wearing both. And his other argument, and this comes up to his argument where he bitches, oh, well, aren't like you should have the same amount of movement and dexterity in full plate as you should in added, in Gambison or chainmail. Like, I think moving 20 feet in 6 seconds is pretty good. in full plate. Like the light armors allow you to go 30 feet. I think that's a fair giveaway. Like I'm losing 10 feet, but I'm gaining like +8 to armor class. Full stop. Like I'm getting a max of +1 for my max dex, and my armor check penalty for doing certain things is going to be different. It's just who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? Like the only people I've ever seen bitch about this is like hardcore medieval fucking fanatics. And that's few and far between. Like nobody complains on the levels that Shed is. Like why does Gambison need to be as good as like chain shirt is a +4. Like a shirt of mail is a +4 in AC. It's the strongest light armor class for 3.5. Why should Gambison, leather, and stud leather all be +3s with the same dex bonuses? Should they have the same? He is obsessed with Gambison. He is obsessed with Gambison because he constantly complains about how people don't fucking represent Gambison correctly in movies and TV shows and video games and blah 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 blah. Who the fuck cares? It's a goddamn fantasy movie. Like if it's a movie that states that it is historically accurate to everything, then yes, you should criticize it that it's not portraying Gamson the way it was historically, especially if it's a historically accurate setting. Okay, good on you for that. But you're talking about authors and writers who are not going to follow every historical fucking thing to the book because it's their own work. Like Star Wars. Star Wars does not follow space travel correctly. It's not supposed to. It's not the point. It's a science fantasy series. But what the audience wants to view is characters dealing with problems in a fantastical sci-fi setting with lasers and lightsabers and big space battles. Who cares if you can't hear things in space? You don't know how many times I've heard people bitch and complain, like, "Oh, you shouldn't be hearing blaster fire and explosions and the sounds of TIE fighters in space. It should be silent. It's a vacuum." Blah blah blah. Who the fuck cares? Like, what kind of curmudgeon do you have to be like, "Oh, Lord of the Rings is just so unfucking realistic." But like, Aragorn should be wearing full plate armor. Everybody should wear look at the Rohirrim. They're not wearing full plate. That's not full plate armor. I don't like this movie. I don't like these books. Like who in their right fucking mind is going to sit there and piss and moan about that? Who? I like Shad just seems like an awful fucking person to play with in D&D, especially if he does not comprehend how the fuck armor works in D&D. Like and it goes into explaining what your armor class is. It just doesn't. It just does not fucking. I can't grasp it. I don't. And that's the. Thank you, Jen. Magic. There's magic. Fucking magic in a setting. Like like why? Why are you arguing about this? There's fucking magic in the setting. So okay. We'll give Shed the benefit of the doubt. We'll say that we concede that armor it should be realistic in D&D. Like like plate armor should be massively OP and broken. where it gives you like a plus 40 to armor class, which is exactly what he fucking states. It should have this massive armor fucking value to where it's nigh fucking impervious. What about magic? What about magic? Like, what's that armor gonna fucking do, Sten? Not Sten. Shed. What is it gonna do? What the fuck is it going to do? Like, if anything, what he should play, and I really hope Shadiversity listens to this fucking video because I really want him to fucking play this so he can piss and moan about how utterly broken magic is. Because I feel like he doesn't like magic in a magical setting. You don't know how many times he has pissed and moaned about, oh well, orcs should use these weapons because they're orcs, or oh, dwarves should use these weapons because they're dwarves, and elves and blah 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 blah. Here's the thing: Burning Wheel. If you want a hardcore, realistic combat style and armor system inside of a fucking pen and paper game, play Burning Wheel. See how fun it is. Like, oh, you have the best. Like, the game literally mocks people that like this stuff. It wholeheartedly can't wait. Like, it starts salivating, like, oh, yes, the player has full fucking plate armor. Oh, he's wearing plate mail. Oh, fireball. You've now been broiled alive in your suit of armor. Because in this setting, armor's not going to stop you from being broiled alive when you get struck by a fireball. Oh, you're wearing plate armor? Lightning bolt. Like, armor is only good against other creatures that are attacking you with melee weapons. That's it. It doesn't prevent you from being fucking roasted alive. It doesn't prevent you from being electrocuted or frozen to death. Like, you don't know how many ways magic can fuck your character over. Sure, you have the best armor in the game. Congrats. You're pretty good against fighting other creatures that will attack you with swords and knives and clubs. Good for you. Have fun facing off against a fucking magic user. Have fun. Have fucking fun. Also, have fun dealing with fighting somebody in plate mail when you yourself are wearing plate mail. Because because Burning Wheel also has very, very intricate and very complex combat mechanics. Because, like, the game allows you to has a parrying system. It has combat where you have to aim for chinks in the armor or or openings, gaps. Oh, hey, he has a gap in his left elbow where it bends. I'm going to aim for that. Oh, he deflected it. Okay, well, now I have to parry and block his attack. Oh, he's trying to aim for, an opening in where my fucking collarbone is. Like, there's the gap in the gorget. Okay, well, I'll have to block and parry that. Like, combat in Burning Wheel is incredibly time consuming. Most of the time spent playing Burning Wheel is usually combat, especially if you have melee oriented warriors, because they're going to be doing nothing but parrying and blocking and trying to defend themselves from getting stabbed. Because again, this game is like Dwarf Fortress. Oh, you got stabbed? Well, you might die. You might lose that limb from poison, like gangrene. You might die from a massive wound. Like, the game is a hardcore fucking pen and paper game, and I love it. I love it dearly. But you know what? I kind of don't want to deal with like 6 hours of combat that can easily be summed up when the wizard just goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna fireball that dude in plate mail. Fuck the fighter. Like, yeah, he's got plate armor. I'm not gonna sit there for 6 hours while him and the other guy just keep bashing each other pointlessly because they keep blocking and parrying each other. Fireball, done." Like, and the funny thing is, the point of Burning Wheel isn't even fucking fighting things. It's mostly character development. Like, your characters start off with all kinds of fucking things. Like your backstory plays into it. Like your backstory, like the whole like character creation is literally creating the story. Like your character starts off with all kinds of fucked up shit that's happened to them in their past, from like from childhood to adulthood, and then you have all kinds of fucking like woes and fucking hardships, and like a counter system where it counts about up how many tragic events have happened to you, and when you max that out, your character essentially just dies. Like the elves have a despair meter where once it maxes out, like the elf is like, I can't. I'm going off to Avalon. I'm going to sail into the west, and I can't deal with the despair that I've dealt with. And you can counter this. Like it's not like something where like the game's like, no, you suffer this. And it's also DM like game master discretion, but like watching your best friend be slaughtered before you by a bunch of trolls. That's a pretty traumatic fucking experience, especially if like they really fuck him up. Like, oh hey, this one scored a crit. He just grabs your friend and just rips him in half, right at the hip joint. Like legs go flying one way, torso, arm, and head go the other way. Like that's a pretty fucked up traumatic event. So the elf now has to roll to save from being traumatized by that. Like a loved one dying of long life, or being poisoned and dying. Because if I remember correctly, elves are immortal in Burning Wheel. Like that's a pretty fucked up thing. Elves aren't supposed to die; they're immortal. So seeing an immortal being dying and being reminded that yes, this could also happen to you, that's a despairing thing. Roll to save, and if you fail the roll, then you get that tacked on. But you can also counter it by like singing, because elves sing and they make rhymes and hymns and ballads to ease their suffering. So it's kind of a coping mechanism, if you will. Same thing with dwarves. Dwarves have greed, orcs have rage, and humans have faith. They become religious zealots the more they see horrible, despairing shit happen to them. So yes, Shad's an idiot. That's my end of that fucking tirade. Like, good golly gosh, what a fucking idiot. Stupid shit. Just stupid shit. Leather doesn't do anything. Like, yes, it fucking does. It's been proven time and time again in the modern world that leather protects you. Just calm your tits. Leather armor can let like hashtag yes leather armor. Let's see. That's the thing. I don't watch Shad that often either. Like the last video I saw of him was his siege video, like which was a good video. Like he talks about siege warfare and like how varying time period well how there's various ways of going about a siege. How it's pretty much fucking stupid to just assault like a castle or fort or defensive position with defenders in it, because it's going to be very costly, and cost means like cost is everything, especially in historical settings. Like there's a reason why certain sieges can be like there's various things to a siege, and I like the video. He does he does to an extent kind of miss some of the points when when it comes to why like movie sieges are so dramatic, and why like yes they kind of forego certain things. Hang on, I accidentally dropped my Advil. So for instance, um Like, we'll go with the movie instead of the book. The Battle of the Hornburg, aka Battle of Helm's Deep. Like, the reason why it's so tense and why it's an amazing siege is one, the attackers the attackers greatly outnumber the defenders. And if we're going by the book standards, there are no elves. The elves don't fucking appear save for Legolas throughout the whole book. And then there's mention of like, oh, Mirkwood was dealing with shit, and so was Rivendell, and the elves to the north were dealing with all kinds of goblin or orcs and blah 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 blah. But in the Battle of Helm's Deep, it's just Rohirrim. It's like that's it. Like in the movie, they state that it's like 1,000 to it's a 10-1 margin when it comes to fucking the Battle of Helm's Deep. It's total 10-1. Uh, in the book though, if I'm trying to remember the numbers, but I believe that it's a couple thousand. I believe it's like 1,000. Like when Helm's Deep, like when oh god, when Theoden and the Fellowship, Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli get there with the rest of the men, it's like 1,000 men that they come to, and then some of I think it's oh god, what's his fucking name? He's basically the leader of the Westfold. I think it's Ertenbreck or whatever. He comes in, and so the numbers go up to like 2,000. But the thing is, Isengard vastly outnumbers them still, because there's 10,000 marching on Helm's Deep, and that's 10,000 orcs, and that's not counting the thousands of men of Dunland, which are the ancient enemies of the Rohirrim. So you now have thousands upon thousands just being fucking thrown right into the mix. So like the forces of Isengard do not give a flying fuck. Like the orcs, it's orcs. It's orcs and barbarians against a small fucking paltry garrison force. What makes this so tense is exactly that. Like like Saruman does not care how many lives his forces suffer as long as he's able to literally slaughter every single person inside the fort. So that's where the tension builds up. It's like, can Rohan defend against just an like it's said in the movie? Like, how can men fight against such reckless hate? Like, that's the tension. How will Rohan be able to do that? And then Éomer comes with a couple thousand Rohirrim that he's mustered across all of Rohan. And then they smash into the line. It's like, yay, they lifted the siege. It was like they nearly took the Hornburg. That's good writing. That's good writing and good storytelling. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's been 4 years and Isengard still sitting there outside the Hornburg eating their food. And oh boy, like Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli and Theoden are literally talking like, well, we're down to just like a couple potatoes and a couple bushels of onions. We may have to surrender the fort. Oh boy, someone shot a couple arrows at one of our sentries on the wall. Oh boy, hoodalati. This this is one hell of a siege. Like, no, no, doesn't have to be like that. That's if you want it absolutely historical to the T. And it's actually kind of done with the siege of Minas Tirith, where, like it's stated in the books. It's not shown in the movies, but it's stated in the books that like there are trenches dug around the fucking perimeter of Minas Tirith. Like they break through the outer wall, which is surrounding the Pelennor fields, which is basically just all farmland to feed and supply Minas Tirith. Which, if I remember correctly, Shad did not even mention in his review of Minas Tirith. And the reason why the fucking wall was crumbling to begin with, the outer Pelennor Field wall, was because they haven't fought any, like Gondor has not fought anything close to the Pelennor Fields in fucking centuries. So no real need to fucking keep all their troops there. If anything, they need to deal with Osgiliath. But like, yeah, in the book, the orcs, which are tens of thousands, build encampments and trenches and palisades and all kind, like they're building up fucking stakes and putting them in the ground so that like if cavalry come in, they're gonna get fucking smashed into these sharp wooden posts. And there's trench lines everywhere, and there's all kinds of siege equipment being built right on site because you know it's a siege. And if I remember correctly, it goes on for a couple weeks. It's been a while since I've read Return of the King, but I believe in the books it's quite a while that there's a siege. Also, like there's a whole fucking build up to the siege. Like Denethor knows that a siege is going to happen, and if a siege does happen, he needs all the men he can. So he calls for the houses and all the little vassals and fucking townships inside Gondor to send men, able-bodied men to Minas Tirith, and he only rallies up a couple thousand men. Like that's all they can muster. And when he bitches about it, they're like, "Well, we need men too to defend our territories." Like, who knows? Like, what happens if we sent all our men to Minas Tirith and the city fell, like the capital fell? Like now we are completely defenseless. Like we need men to defend ourselves. Then you have I think it's Dol Armoth. That's one of the bigger cities in the Bay of Belfalas. Like he sends in all kinds of knightly folk, and then he joins up with Aragorn, and they lead a charge. And I just can't. I can't deal with stupid shit like that. Awful. Absolutely awful. Ay, ay, ay. So how is everyone doing? Because I've rambled on a fair amount. How do you guys like my new profile picture here on YouTube? Because apparently I keep getting yelled at by YouTube because I'm using David Bowie's picture. All right, let me scroll up. Oh, you put in for Social Security to put disability. Ooh, almost dropped my cigarette. Sucks having fucking one hand do everything. Basically, my fucking right hand's become a cigarette holder. Well, hopefully it all works out for you, Sten. I know I filed my taxes a while ago. I got my state taxes I want to say 2 weeks ago. I bought all kinds of stupid shit with it because it's $500 that I was like, fuck it. But my federal, I need to talk to tech because I talked to tech a few years back about buying a desktop, like a hardcore, like, awesome build up, and he said that it would be cheaper for me to it'd be more cost effective to buy a desktop than a laptop, because with a desktop I won't be so hindered by like things being obsolete in like 4 or 5 years. Like with a laptop, like I'm good for like a couple years, and then like new graphics cards and new fucking like new stuff, like new certain things like graphics cards and CPUs and all kinds of doodads and baubles that are inside laptops kind of fall to the wayside. All right, Sten. If I remember correctly, the last time I talked to Tech, he was saying that it was going to cost me like for a good laptop for what I was looking for, it'd be between 11 to 1300 bucks, which I'm fine with. Uh, and that for the same price, I could get a desktop that would be as good, if not better, for like a couple $100 less, or even better for around that same price. So help me fucking build it. Hopefully, like there's a site that I can go to where it's like I want all of these things in the desktop, please, and then they just put it together for me. Because I really don't want like I see Tech on Facebook and he's doing a lot of stuff on like his branding and like work and stuff. So I kind of want to fucking have him stuck on a fucking like Skype call or something for like 8 hours while I'm cavemaning it up. Like, what's this go into? That's the power plug, Darth. Oh, all right. Now carefully put in the like the graphics card, and I just start bashing it with a bone. Carefully. Me do carefully. And I just keep bashing it into place. Also, I am going to fucking survivalist up all the fucking shit. When fucking winter, when of winter peel back and the first dew of spring arrives, I am going to be gone. I will be camping. I got my bought so much stupid shit, but it's like survival shit. Like the normal person will say, "Oh, that's just stupid of you to buy, Darth." But it's like, no, it's not stupid, because if the bombs drop, or if I need to, if I'm camping and I need something, I've got it. I got a camping stove. Little thing. It's a little tiny motherfucking stove that's collapsible, and it uses fuel tablets. And I bought like 4 P38 can openers, because you never know when you're gonna need a can opener. And I bought what else did I buy? I bought all kinds. I bought fucking water purification tablets with iodine in them, and I bought a bedroll, like one of those foam mats that you lay down so that you're not sleeping. So your sleeping bag's not just laying on dirt or a hard surface while you're laying in your tent. So now I'll have a nice comfy back support when I'm camping. Can't wait. Can't wait. That's gonna be so fucking. Oh, it's gonna be so cozy. And I bought myself a 19. Hang on, because I got it right here with me. I bought myself for a couple bucks. I bought myself a U.S. Hamel MFG Company Incorporated 1963 canteen cup, stainless steel, locks into fucking place. And I've had myself many a cup of tea and coffee with this bad boy. And it's got a little metallic tinge to it, but I don't give a fuck. This thing is, oh, it's so good. And I can cook my soups in it. Oh, you can't see it, but I'm cradling it like a newborn babe. Just petting it because it's so good. I love it. It fits right inside of my fucking, I think it's a 1 liter. I think a canteen, a standard issue GI canteen holds a liter of water, but fits right around that like a glove. So in the morning, I'll be able to pull out my tea kettle, put it right on my camping stove, boil me some water that I have in my canteen, pull out a tea bag, put it in my cup, my canteen cup, and just sit there and enjoy the morning dawn. Ooh, first light of dawn, sitting over a nice little rosy campfire. Who wouldn't want to do that, Jen? If you're still here. Yeah, you're in here. I see you. You're one of the participants. Mocking me over my P-38s. Why are you sick of winter, Sten? Winter's great. It's cold, dreary, almost an overcast every single day. It just matches my personality to a T. Happens. I know one of the greatest skin problems for a lot of people in winter is dry feet, because a lot of I shouldn't say a lot of people, just a circle like where I interact with and talk to, they deal with a lot of dry feet issues because they wear socks all the time. What you should be doing is you should be taking your socks off when you're in a warm area to air your feet out, and wearing socks when you're outside. Oh, you got eczema. Yeesh. Oh boy, that sucks. I actually learned from my grandfather the best way to prevent dry feet or athlete's foot, which is socks, and how to wear socks, because he was in the he was in the Navy technically. He was in the military, and he suffered from foot issues, usually sweaty feet. Putting on a pair of thin cotton socks and then covering them up with wool socks completely negates that. Your cotton sock absorbs the sweat, and then your wool sock draws out that moisture. So basically your cotton socks are always dry, and the wool socks, because they're wool and they're really they just they don't really hold moisture, but that's basically what troops used to do all the time, and I believe it's still standard for like US military, like in any environment, desert, temperate, arctic, wherever. Like troops are always like wearing cotton socks then wool socks. So that's a pretty neat thing. Shit like that I like to know about. Also, I bought a new mess kit, fork, knife, and spoon. The one I have has a can opener on it, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. Like you can't hook it up. It's not like it's like the actual '60s, '50s, '60s, and '70s mess kit that troops were given. Like the one I have now comes with a nice like key ring, but it's like a riveted clasp, and then I have individual fork, knife, and spoon. So they just dangle. So I can hook those up to my backpack. The other ones, they come in like a little plastic case, and then they slide into the can opener, so they don't move around. But like, eh, the one I have now, like now I have two in case I need another set, or in case I need to let someone use it. Here's looking at you, Ricky, if you're fucking watching this, because Ricky wants to rough it like I do. So I'm gonna be buying a big old box of rations. And that's another thing. Maddie's not liking the prospects of how me and Ricky want to go camping, which is roughing it in the woods, no electricity, no nothing. Just the packs on our back and just fucking freeze dried and MRE food up the ass. And I've been doing the math, and that's right. I ordered a 19 I believe it's a 1961. I don't have it with me right now. It's on my chest on my web rig because I've been buying a lot of I've been buying a lot of antique military gear for my new web rig because the web rig I have for, and this is for airsoft, also just survival shit. The web rig I have for Christ, a solid 8 years going now. I think I got it, yeah, around 2010. I think it was around that time that I got it. It's like an 80s web rig, and it has built-in chest pouches. Not like the standard fucking SWAT or tactical vests that you see that police have, where they have the two pouches in the front for rifles, rifle ammunition, or submachine gun ammunition, and then like pistol ammunition in a built-in holster. It has a set of single pouches for single AR or M16 magazines on the top of your chest, one on either side, so one magazine in each pouch, and then it has a double pouch on either side next to your stomach. So that's 6 magazines there. It also has built-in grenade pouches for two, I believe they're M67s. It's not the pineapple. It's not the Mark II pineapple. It's the ball with basically it's just a ball with the fucking lever and clasp and pin right there. So you can fit one on either side of your pouch on your vest, and then it has a standard pistol belt with the plastic clasp. I don't have any of the metal clasps for the buckles. And then I have, I believe, two M16 pouches that each fit 3 magazines each, and each one of those can fit 2 more grenades on either side. That's what the clasps are for. If you ever wondered what the clasp is for on an M16 magazine pouch, it has a camouflage butt pouch on the back, and then I have 2 canteen holders on either side next to the butt pouch. And so that's been my go-to web rig for years. But for the longest time, I've been wanting a classic Vietnam era web rig. So I ordered a bunch of stuff off of eBay because eBay's perfect to get military fucking surplus and antique stuff. And a while back in 2015, I ordered for a vintage M1911 holster. The problem with it is it's a pistol belt attachment. So it's got two giant metal clasps. It's all one piece, but they have two hooks, and that hooks into the grommets on a pistol belt. And I couldn't fit that correctly on the web rig I had because of the way that the web rig or the chest vest itself actually holds onto the belt. It has clasps on all around it, and it's got like 6 or 8, and so it covers up a lot of the grommets, and so the belt, the holster would not fit properly. Plus, with all the shit I had on it, it wasn't going to fit. So I bought another pistol belt, which came with a couple pouches, a couple canteens. It comes with a pair of Y suspenders. I need a pair of H suspenders for the full authenticity because a lot of the stuff I have is the M56 equipment, a lot of canvas. The magazine pouches aren't the canvas ones, and I'm kind of grateful for that because the canvas ones I've used the canvas M16 pouches. They are not. I just don't like them. They have a canvas strap that goes through a bunch of metal clasps and hooks on the pouch, and I don't think that's quick. Like for ease of access, I like I believe they're the late 60s model, which is basically just a plastic clasp where you push the two hooks at the bottom, and it comes through like the socket that holds them. I like that one easier. It's more effective. They're nylon. Like it fucking matters. But like I just feel like I like that ease. It's easier for my brain and like body to react where it's like okay, just clip like pinch the clips, push up, and then like the whole fucking top just opens up. Then I can reach in, grab a magazine, and load it. Easy peasy. The other one, it's just like, oh well, I gotta use both hands, or I need to really know how to fucking open the strap. So I got that. Bought myself a fucking first aid and or compass pouch. I've put a compass in there. I have a couple compasses now. I still have to put my iodine fucking water purification tablets in the purification tablet holder for my canteen because it fits perfectly. Uh, and then I got a going back to it, I have a butt pack strap attachment for my harness, but it's for an H suspender hold up. So that's for putting a butt pouch on top of my back instead of on the belt. Even though uh I can hook, I believe, two on my back, and then I can also I've been thinking of getting it, but I kind of don't want to. It's a spaghetti strap holster for holding a rucksack on your back. But I also have an Alice pack that I can strap my bedroll to underneath. That'll sit perfectly flush with my butt pouch, and then I can put my camping tent right away that an Alice pack is set up. So when I go camping, I'm going to be wearing that web rig minus the pistol holster and magazine pouches. So I have like four canteens with canteen pouches. So I'll have four canteens, all my equipment, couple sets of clothes, uh, bedroll, camping equipment. I have my cooking light. It's only like a pound. Um, and then each MRE that I'll be taking weighs a pound. So Ricky wants to do like 4 days. So 12 rations is 3 meals a day, or a standard 12 pack is a 4 day fucking ration. So 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's 12 pounds. So I'm thinking of doubling up. So 24, just in case I'm really fucking hungry. Because you know me, I love to eat. So I'll have 24 pounds for rations, and then probably like another 20 pounds of equipment inside. So I'm I think I'm doing pretty good when it comes to camping. Like 50 pounds of equipment doesn't like 50 pounds just for everything doesn't seem like that much of a problem. I mean, Christ, I used to fucking walk around with fucking 80 pounds of shit. But I'll be camping and I can't wait. Cannot wait. Where are we camping? That is the question. From what Ricky was telling me, him and his work buddies want to go north to New Hampshire. I believe it's New Hampshire that he was telling me about. So it's somewhere in New Hampshire that they're going to be going to, so that it's like again, we haven't really talked about where they want to go camping because they all haven't decided yet. But somewhere there, which will be nice because I haven't been in New Hampshire in a long time. But I will be fully prepared for any fucking locale. Save for the desert. Because fuck the desert. Alright, so avoid any place around Milton. Is there a reason why I should avoid any place around Milton? Because I'm trying to be like Batman, preparing for all outcomes. Oh, you've been there. Bunch of doo doo heads. Oh, okay, so it's just not a very good area. It's on the Maine border. Good old Maine, where the men look like women and the women look like men, or so they say. Durham. All right, I will look into that, good sir. Also, any questions you have for me, good sir? Because I know you were asking me about the Tolkien video movie, which is, that's gonna be a shit show. Hmm, not looking forward to it. And I didn't really go into full detail about my apprehension for the movie because I was busy at the time. All right, Stan. Um, so my gripes with Tolkien, I'll go into that because I didn't fully go into the whole. So okay, so the apprehensions I have for Tolkien are many. One, the actor that they picked for Tolkien doesn't look like him from when he was younger. Secondly, the movie, if the movie is going to do justice to Tolkien, it needs to do a damn good justice. Like they need to go, and there's a lot to cover. Like that's one of the biggest things I don't like about a lot of biopics or biopics. If they're talking about a certain point in history for the person, for the historical figure, then okay, that gives you some leeway as to what's going on. Like Darkest Hour with Gary Oldman, who fucking brilliantly plays Winston Churchill. Perfect. Love the movie. Perfect biopic. Talks about fucking like what Churchill was doing during the Darkest Hour. Awesome. Loved it. What this movie's trying to do, however, is cover everything. Like, even if the movie's 3 hours, everything. Like, you're not going to be able to cover the fact, like, how Tolkien met his wife, how he fell in love with her, like his time spent in South Africa, like his boy, like the fact that he is a very religious man, like raised in a very religious family, that needs to be brought up and discussed. Like, yes, he was a hardcore Catholic. His time spent in the trenches, like what he was doing in the trenches, which was, you know, starting very loosely his like his mythos, like in the Lost Letters, his time spent in the trenches of World War I, getting trench foot, getting horribly sick. I think it was 3 times he got horribly sick. His stint breaking in horses during the Great War. Then you need to talk about his time in Oxford, what he was doing, like in his fucking stead as professor, and then like where's the movie going to end? Is the movie going to end like right when he writes down on that sheet of paper like the first line of The Hobbit? Like what about all the people, like the writers, the writers group that he was a part of? Like what about them? Uh fuck, I'm fucking drawing a blank. C.S. Lewis, you need to talk about him meeting C.S. Lewis, like the informal group, the Inklings, like you have to showcase like there was a group of people. You need to talk about the fact, like the other thing is like Tolkien, wrote the Lord of the Rings as a challenge. Like he was working on the mythos as a challenge to like what was going on with the Inklings, where I believe C.S. Lewis was going to do a time travel. It was a time travel or a science fiction story. And Tolkien said, "Well, I'll do a time travel story going back in time," where C.S. Lewis is going to go forward in time. And so that's where fucking like the mythos began, where Tolkien's like POV character was going to go back to prehistory where there were elves and dwarves and men fighting against a terrible evil. And like he actually basically his character uh oh god, I forgot the character's name, but like him and his father go back in time and they live as Numenorians before the sinking of Numenor. And so basically he was doing a time travel back to Atlantis, and like he had chosen like, and his mythos was going to be basically Atlantis. So like they were living through the times of Numenor, and like Numenor was the name of Atlantis, and so on and so like that you got to cover that, and then like the amount of work he was doing at the same time as fucking his work in Oxford. There's just so much shit you need to fucking like get across. Like Lord of the Rings was an afterthought. You have to bring up the fact that he was a incredibly well taught and well educated linguist. You need to bring up his Beowulf work, where he essentially fucking changed the learn like the like the I wouldn't say the philosophical aspects of it. Yeah, exactly. There's just too many points to hit. Like his time doing dealing with Beowulf and like writing his papers on Beowulf, proving that like there's a more historical purposes to Beowulf than it just being a fairy tale. Like him fucking creating the languages that he did, his like everything. Too much. There's too much to wrap up in a 3 hour movie. Not even hitting the points like of like the like I can hand wave the actor not looking like Tolkien, but if they don't do him justice, just no. Just no, you can't. The man was very complicated, as are most people. Like I don't I couldn't see if somebody came up to like if a studio came up to me and was like we would like to do a biopic on your life from start to current time. I'd be like you can't do it in 3 hours. Like like even for me, like just take any person's life, you can't do it, especially someone who lived a long eventful life like Tolkien. Tolkien lived through World War I, fought in World War I, then lived through the fucking the great like the global depression that was going on and World War II. Just that alone affected him. Then you got to deal with the fact that like he had a troubled childhood, a troubled family life. Like just there's just way too much. He lived to the ripe old age of like 80, 81. There's a lot of shit that he did in his life. And but like I don't know. Like I just really hope that they fucking do him and Edith, his wife, justice. Plus the fact that like he's got 4 kids. Wow, Christ Almighty! His oldest son lived longer than like his second son. His second son lived from 20 to 84, and his oldest lived from 17 to 2003. And then Christopher's still alive. He was born in 24, and then Priscilla's been living since 29. I believe I forget if it's John or Michael became a priest, and then you got to talk about Christopher and like how he picked up the pen and started working on his father's stuff after his father died. Uh, the letters from Saint Nicholas, what that he wrote to his children, which was basically an entirely different mythos, which he made into a fucking long spanning like decade of letters that he hand wrote and drew pictures for his children when they were growing up, detailing like the adventures of Santa Claus. Basically, Santa was writing letters to them. Like, there's so much stuff, and it feels like the trailer makes it look like it's going to be an action movie where you have like the two guys like during World War I fighting, and it's supposed to be like, oh, the Balrog is the explosion. It's like, no, no, like, just no. Don't do that. Please don't be like, oh, like to me, the trailer's basically showing that like Tolkien lived in his own little world and he thought like everything going on around him was Middle Earth. Like, no. Just no. Today's slogan comes from a rousing little thing that I saw. Uh Let me grab it. It's from a fucking butcher's shop called the Corner Butcher Shop. And that was one of their the other pick I could have done was Creston Valley Meats, which their slogan was these animals are just dying for you to taste them. That was another one I was gonna pick, but I was like, you know what? Nah. There's also probably gonna use the Royal Flush Plumbers, which their slogan is call now, your shit is. There's so many good horrible slogans. So many. I love it. I love that I chose horrible ad slogans to be the titles of my videos. So good. So good. Finish that bottle. Uh Sucks. And that bruise is still not going away on my heel. Uh-oh. What notifications did I get on my phone? It's SimCity. Uh okay, yeah. I gotta collect my Sim cash and collect my items. My items are done. Item production is complete. Go click and collect your fucking breads and salmon sandwiches that I'm making. Yeah, the doctor's telling me that it's gonna take a while for everything to heal. That's why they gave me the splint. They told me to use it for the majority of the day and to go easy with my hand when I take it out to like let it breathe and fucking recover. Final Fantasy record keeper. What is that, good sir? Also, give me a second. I'm gonna grab something else to drink. Okay. It's basically a Final Fantasy mobile game in which you play a young record keeper of the Final Fantasy realms called Tyro, and the records of these realms get corrupt, so it's his job to head in and fix them. As you play the game, you can get mithril to draw on banners for gear. Huh. Do missions, unlock characters, and get stuff to level them. Well, that sounds pretty interesting. Oh! I remember something. I remember something I wanted to talk about. Thank you, brain. Stellaris. So Stellaris had a patch earlier, last week. I think it was last week or the week before. They fixed some issues with the game. Not everything, because I don't think they'll be going back to anything. Ew. Can I just say Kingdom Hearts 3 just looks meh? Like, meh. Like like I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 suffered from fucking Half-Life 3 syndrome where everybody was like, "Oh, Kingdom Hearts, Kingdom Hearts." And like it comes out finally and it's just yeah. Like did it even conclude everything from Kingdom Hearts? Like is it a final cornerstone or are they like fucking milking this for like a Kingdom Hearts 4? Cuz I feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 should just be like the final fucking capstone where it's like, okay, the story's over. Like Sora, fucking, and all the like, okay, so everything's done. Like story's concluded, Big Bad's been defeated, all the like all the plot threads have been answered. Oh, great. I feel like that series got way too convoluted, way too much. No, okay, there we go. With crap from the mobile game key, you have to watch back cover to get the gist of the mobile game, but story is over. Organization 13 is done, and Xenort is dead, redeemed. Okay, well at least that's a good. Okay, so at least I can applaud Kingdom Hearts 3 for doing that, getting most of the convoluted bullshit out of the way. So there's that. As for Stellaris, so here's the thing. With Stellaris, the sector system was kind of stupid. It's still stupid. I fucking hate the goddamn fucking sector system. And I don't see them changing it anytime soon, which is bullshit. So the sector system thus far, and I've explained it before, y- like you have hyperlanes per star system. So each star system has a line, which is the lane. From your planet, 3 star system jumps away is the limit for your sector. This can kind of get stupid because planets. You need to have so like if you want your whole fucking empire covered in sectors, That means you need to fucking prioritize planet systems and sector layouts. But like the last few games I've played, I've had big spanses of just unsectored production. Just whole gaps. You'll see a blotch of sector here and a blotch of sector there that are bordering each other, and then southwards on the hyperlane routes, there's just nothing, and then finally another sector. And that's because of the way the sector system's made. They kind of fixed it, and if I remember correctly, it went from 2 jumps to 3, or it's gone from 3 to 4 jumps. So now sectors are bigger, but not really that big of a difference, depending. And that's basically one of the bigger fucking like that's basically the biggest improvement. I still wish sectors were back to the way they were, where you made the sector. Like I want this whole like say you took over the galaxy and there's like only a few, like say you took over half the galaxy, or you've taken over the whole outer rim of the galaxy and you're in a fucking a rings like a ring world or a ring galaxy, or say you've taken over like one entire arm of a spiral galaxy, and you've taken matter of fact, you've taken over two. You've taken over two arms of a galaxy in a spiral galaxy, and you're like, I've got like 100 planets that I'm fucking like I'm managing, and I kind of don't want to manage all 100. And I've got like 25 in one arm, and that arm I kind of don't even need to bother about now because I'm kind of expanding. I'm planning to expand into like the next arm of the galaxy where most of the Xenos are. So you take your sector maker in the old version and you'd go from one point and you'd expand. So you could effectively make one whole sector be a spiral arm, which is what I used to do, especially when playing like the Imperium of Man. There's basically 5 sectors for the galaxy. You have Segmentum Pacificus, which is just a small little fucking area west of Holy Terra. You have the Terran sector, which it doesn't really have its. I believe it has its own name, which is like Solar Segmentum Solar, which is basically just everything around, like a small bordering sector around Holy Terra. Then you have Tempestus, Ultima Segmentum, which is basically 2/3 of the galaxy eastwards, and then Obscura or Obscurus, which is north, and Tempestus is south. So I would basically make those in Stellaris. Can't do that anymore. Every fucking 4 hyperlane jumps away, it's like up another sector, and that's going to be four sectors away, and then that one's going to be 4 sectors, and so it's like you have, but by like fucking 40, 50 years into the game, you have like 20 sectors. And they all have their own little fucking doodads and their own little things, and you're still micromanaging them. You can automate them, but what's the fucking point of automating them? Because the new system kind of fucking sucks when it comes to sectors, because you have people. Like populations are different. So now you're fucking juggling populations, trying to keep jobs up, trying to keep the population to a minimum, but not too much of a minimum to where like you have a job surplus that's not being met. Some job surpluses are okay, like miners, but like say you build a precinct for like controlling crime, and crime's really rampant on your world. You need to hit that population limit just enough to where that gets occupied for a job. So like if you put down a precinct and then you put down 2 mining districts because you want a mining world but there's a lot of crime on it, you want the population to be high enough to where that precinct has uh cops so that your crime will go down, but then you still want that surplus so that while you're not paying attention to that world, the population can catch up to your jobs so that when you get the notification, hey, we need more jobs. It's like, okay, well, at least everything else is in order. The other problem is just the fucking system. Like, I just kind of don't like the way Stellaris is right now. Like, I'm fine with like building like specialized planets. I'm okay, kind of, with the way the fucking pop system works, but at the same time, I can't. What I really want is a combat update. Combat and diplomacy really need fucking overhauls. Like, I've been thinking about it and thinking about it when I was playing. I've been watching a lot of Space Docs videos where he talks about like space combat and how like spaceships should be and starships should be. I'm kind of in that mindset now when it comes to Stellaris, where it's like you have customization ships, but the ships don't really matter, and I feel like that's a big fucking detriment to the game. Like, there, for the longest time in Stellaris, the meta was frigates. Naked frigates were absolutely devastating, and that's what everybody used to build, which was basically a naked frigate for the people that don't know. And there's also naked destroyers and naked cruisers. The point of them was build nothing but weapons on them and have no armor and no shields and just build a fuck ton of them. They're cheap, they're destructive, and you could just Zerg rush. Like, oh, hey, a fleet of like 50K is attacking me. I'll just build 50K worth of naked frigates. They're vastly cheaper than what the opponent's building, which is adding shields and armor to them. And so you just throw them. But that meta is still around, kind of. But like, the meta now is you build a designated frigate, a designated destroyer, a designated cruiser, and a designated battleship and Titan. That's it. There's really no need for like anything else. Like, you build the way that they like you should build them, and that's it. What I think Stellaris should do is change ship composition, fleet composition, and just add more like strategy to space combat. Like, for example, carriers. Like, cruisers and battleships can be built with carriers and or carrier components. For battleships and cruisers, you get three parts: aft, bow, and the central portions of the ship. And you can modify them. So you can make an artillery piece in the bow or the stern, and then you can add like a broadside or something like that to the other two components. But you get cruisers get one, the very central portion of the ship can be a carrier, and then it'll have some point defense, and then it'll carry one fighter or bomber, you're choosing. Battleships get two components for that same thing, which is the front and the first two segments can be carriers, and they can both carry two fighters or two bombers, and they'll have point defense. That's about it. Like, there's no stances for the ships if they have a carrier loadout. There's no fucking there's no point really to them. Like, you can build carriers and you can send them into battle with the rest of your fleet, but they're going to do exactly the same thing as a normal cruiser or a normal battleship. I feel like with what Space Docs talked about and just with normal combat, I feel like space combat and combat in general in Stellaris should have more utilities. Like, you should be able to build like a carrier ship, and that carrier ship carriers will have more focus on staying outside of combat and using their point defense to take down incoming attacks like missiles and torpedoes. Like, you should be able to tell them, like, oh, well, bombers and fighters should do this. Bombers and fighters should do a lot more than what they usually do in Stellaris. Give me a second. Cause like, uh, yeah, like, fucking Strikecraft are still weak. Strikecraft are still incredibly weak. Uh, Admiral traits don't affect them, which is another thing, which is really stupid. And they're, if I remember correctly from playing the game, they're incredibly slow. Like that's the insane thing to me. Like I want fucking stuff to be cooler in the game and have more weight to it. Like that's all I want. Also, it's not naked frigates; it's naked corvettes. God forbid I forget. Uh, Hang on. I'm actually gonna look it up. I'm gonna look up the fucking sprite craft on the fucking actual wiki, and it just goes right back to fucking ship designer. Lovely. Also, defense platforms need to go back to the way they were. I fucking loved defense platforms. Like back in merry old pre two, I believe it was pre 2.0. You had your shipyard or your space station, and then you'd have your frontier outpost, which was basically this puts into my territory. And then you had the option of building light, medium, or heavy defense platforms. So basically, you could build 4 heavy defense like battle stations that would stay in your fucking star system, and they'd be defensive. And you'd have anti-gravity wells if you wanted, or minefields. And so the anti-grav would allow your battle station to keep a fleet from jumping, emergency jumping, and it'd slow down their time for their emergency FTL drives to kick in, which would give you some ample time to fly right in and start fucking up their fleet. Now we're just going to remove that and just make it a starport. And now the defensive platforms you can build just float around your starport. I kind of don't like that. I kind of wish you just have your frontier outpost, like your frontier stations and outposts, and then you could just build fucking like battle stations, like giant space fortresses that just sit in space in like just sit in space. That seems like a logical thing. Like, why do I need to build up a starport into a massive citadel just for defensive purposes? Like, yes, I can bristle a starport with nothing but guns and torpedo, like missile batteries and gun batteries and fucking uh hangar bays. But why can't I just build a completely fucking why can I only build a small light platform that floats around it? Why? And the fucked up thing is they don't even have a classification for a starport that's built that way. It's just called a bastion. But like you can have a bastion on a star system or over a planet. Like it makes no sense. Just like let us build fortresses. Let's make let us make our own fucking sector systems too. Please, fucking please. Oh no, we can't. Oh, all right then. Another thing I'd like is because I don't believe it's actually a thing is to have fucking strike craft and strike bombers being able to be used in planetary bombardments. or in or in ground warfare. You'd think that'd be a good thing for like the game to have, where it's like, oh well, we have strikecraft that can go in space and atmospheric conditions. Like you'd think, hey, I'm building massive fleets with strikecraft in them. How about I take the strikecraft and also bombard a fucking planet with them? Apparently, you can't. Fucking endless space can do that. You can build like void ships that like can fight in space and they can fight in an invasion. Like, do that, Stellaris, please. Make carriers and all kinds of fucking battleship like why give us multitudes of components for battleship building, like building battleships and corvettes and destroyers and cruisers and titans? Why do you give us this whole amount of customization when they're not really that viable? Why? Why is that such a fucking like hard thing to grasp? It just there's so many gripes. So many gripes I have. And here's something I didn't know, Stan. Paradox, who made fucking Hearts of Iron, Crusader Kings, uh, Universalis, and Stellaris, also co-produced or co-made Knights of Pen and Paper, because one of my friends plays that. And also, again, as of 2.2, fucking Strikecraft are absolutely useless. Carriers are completely fucking useless. And the only use a Strikecraft can be used for is for protecting your trade by increasing the trade protection by 2 jumps instead of 1. But you still need your like you still need patrol fleets to patrol your trade routes. And yeah, like I started playing it a couple days ago. I think I'm at like level 15, 16 in Knights of Pen and Paper. See, that's the thing, Stan. I really hope, because like the main head designer has left to do something else for Paradox, and now they've brought in a new guy. And like the new guy is already doing some pretty nice things. Like he's already planning some stuff. Like the first thing he wants to do is a diplomacy and espionage like update, an expansion. Like he wants to expand it where he's like, yeah, the old school, like the old way of doing diplomacy with other AI is just kind of just trivial. You click on them, like their empire insignia, or you go to the contacts list, you talk to them, and then you go, "I'll trade you food for like minerals," and then you just try and cheese it so that they'll actually agree to it. Like in I think the last 2 years. Let's see. I got the game December of 2016. So in all of 2017 and in all of 2018, they've done like 6 expansions and 6 major updates. They're in 2.2.4 now. And like there's been a few good things and there's been a lot of bad things. Like yeah, like the Utopia allowed you to build habitats and mega structures now, like the Dyson Sphere. That was really good. Um Changing the way borders work was okay, because like before you just started off as a circle, and as your influence increased it just expanded exponentially. and like the only time you could expand was when your borders expanded, and that varied depending on like what kind of ethics and what kind of governmental system you were and all kinds of variables. So them going, hey, building an outpost here and building an outpost there, and like going through the rounds of building more frontier stations to consolidate power kind of makes sense. So kudos for that. But like then they bring in like, oh well, populations are going to be like stratified now, and population doesn't like tiles no longer mean anything. So now it's districts, and like districts need like districts increase jobs, and now there's trade values and trade systems. Now you have the trade routes and like the trade market and the galactic trade market. It's like, okay, I kind of like this. I kind of like this. I kind of like having trade routes and stuff. But like the trade routes, and I've played quite a few games that have gone a couple hundred years. Like I have yet to see a trade route that I have connect to another system. Like I don't see trade routes between empires and those being viable. I don't see any value in attack. Like there's no way of attacking a trade route to increase your trade value. Like that'd be something nice to have. Like you bring in this new mechanic, but you don't have any way of actually viably dealing with it against other empires. At least to me, I haven't seen anything. At least to me. And like that's the most recent update, which is 2.2. We're at 2.2.4. I understand, Sten. Like I've clocked in like that Steam has actually gathered up and actually been like, yeah, this is how many hours you have. I've clocked in 649 hours online. There's been a lot of hours I've spent offline where like Steam hasn't registered it, so I've probably clocked in about 1,000 hours in the game. So I've gotten my money's worth from it. Like, and I'm kind of weird about it, where it's like, yeah, like if I can get 60 hours of a game, like 60 hours, like if I drop $60 and I can get 60 hours out of it and still have fun, then I'm like, okay, I've spent my money's worth. Like an hour, like $1 per hour is my like my criteria. If I can spend if I spend $20 on a game and I can get 20 hours or more out of it, then yeah, okay, it was worth the money. So like this new update, I've probably clocked in like a good 40 hours, 50 hours into it. But it's like, meh, just meh. Like if the next expansion comes out and they're like, oh well, we're adding like espionage and fucking neutral zones, and you can have neutral zones dividing up you and an enemy, like a pre like an empire that you just had war with, and you can designate a neutral zone that neither one of you can enter, and if you do, it like negates the ceasefire. And like, oh, old school sectors are coming back. I'll be like, okay, then I'm interested in it. I'll probably buy it. Especially because the expansions that you buy don't really do that much. Like the thing about expansions, that the expansions only add new things. Like most of the stuff like that they've introduced are free. Like they're free patches. So like the only things that you can't do with an expansion, like unless you have the expansions, are build Titans. I believe it's build Titans, build an Ecumenopolis, which is basically just a city-wide world. Like that's in Megacorp. That's one of the things in Megacorp's expansion that you have to buy to do that. You don't need it. You can find an Ecumenopolis in in vanilla, like with the patches. You just can't make multiples. You can only find one. But like some of the Leviathan creatures, you need the Leviathan story pack expansion, which just gives you all kinds of like giant space monsters, like the stellar devourer, which is just like a giant energy crab that eats stars. You have the god, I forgot. It's like the ghost wraith or some shit. It's like a giant space jellyfish. Um, all kinds of stuff. Then you have oh god, which one is it? Oh, distant stars allows you to get the L cluster. In base game, you can't go to the L cluster and you can't use L gates, but you have the warp gates, which allow you to jump from one side of the galaxy to the other when you discover them and repair them. I believe you need the expansion to build new ones, which is another thing. Like in all the games I've played recently in like the past few weeks, I've only found one gate. Like I haven't even the game I've been playing now when I was at Ricky's house. I played for like 3 days. I haven't found a wormhole, which is weird because I have like you can have wormholes in game or not in game. I have everything at default. So, but yeah. Uh oh shit. It's 6:18. Yeah. I am hungry because I haven't eaten. Well, I've eaten today, but it was just 2 slices of sweet bread. Plus, I finished my second drink of the stream. So, I'm going to probably make something to eat. I have I have beef stew, canned beef stew. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the store. I gotta get some more soda, and then some. I'm probably gonna cook up something to eat, and then I'm probably gonna finish my fucking watch later list. Where's my watch later list? How many videos do I have to catch up on? I got 9 videos to catch up on. A bunch of them I've accidentally watched while I was sleeping, so I'll watch those. But I got a few videos to watch, and then whatever pops up into my subscription list while I've been doing this. Then you should eat, Sten, because you haven't eaten since noon. That's almost 6.5 hours. Oh, what movie are you going to before I leave? Because I'm only in sweatpants. My fingers. There's my socks. Oh, you're. Oh, okay. How was that one? Now it's How to Train Your Dragons 3. Well, that's good at least. Yeah, I hate when that happens when you know what the ending's gonna be. Oh man, no more. Well, hopefully it was on a bright note where it's like, yeah. Well, at least it's a nice capstone to the story, and there's no questions, and everybody has a happy ending. I'm a sucker for movies like that. where it's like everything's wrapped up. There's a happy ending. And happy ending should I should stipulate what a happy ending is for me. A happy ending for me is when I'm happy with the ending. Like The Thing has a happy ending for me where it's like, yeah, two men maybe one man may be a thing out of the two of them, or they might be human, but they're both going to die a miserable, terrible end being paranoid. That's a happy ending for me. Where it's like, yep, everything's wrapped up and everything's, all fucking all the strings like it leaves you guessing. But like that's how the movie should end. Well, that's good. I like bittersweet kind of happy endings. Of course. The Thing is a great movie. Leaves you guessing, and the only question that it leaves you, well, there's a few questions it leaves you at the end. Like, first of all, is Child's a thing? But like also why, like, what did Child see that made him run out? That's probably the biggest question that's been like haunting me since I watched The Thing for the first time many, 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 many moons ago. Like that's always been the question. Like I already know who got infected first, Norris. Like all the question, like most of the questions people have, I know the answers to. Like who got the blood? Like how did they get to the blood? Well, Windows dropped the keys. Like you literally hear him walking in to check on Bennings and he drops the keys. So it could be any one of the people that was infected. Norris, Palmer, Blair, because Blair was still infected. So that's how it got into the blood. But like I hardly see anybody asking the question, what did Child see that made him walk out? Because he was standing guard the whole time. We know he was human up until that point. Why did he leave? Did he actually see Blair? Was he did he drop his guard and did Blair assimilate him? And then he fled out. And then like one fan theory that I like, because I don't believe the fan theory that, oh, we can't see his breath, like when we clearly can. I like the fan theory that like McCready filled the bottle that he hands Childs with gas because he was making Molotovs to blow up the base. And so that's why he laughed, because he knows that Childs is actually a thing and the thing can't taste gasoline. Or the thing assumes that gasoline is alcohol. But if I remember correctly, we also see McCready drink it, so it can't be alcohol. Well, it can't be gasoline, because why the fuck would McCready be drinking gasoline? Also, I'm putting my boots on, so that's why you're hearing the microphone bounce back and forth. God, I love these boots. I don't have to tie them, just have to zip them up. But yeah. All right, I'm ready to leave. So thank you, Sten and Jen, for coming. Uh, hopefully you have something nice to eat for dinner, Sten. And uh, if you still want to talk. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening.